How's it going, everyone? I want to give you guys a bit of a gameplay update on Phantom Blade Zero, as the game director, who goes by the moniker of Soulframe, was interviewed by Games Radar and gave us a little bit of insight on the game's world design. Now, before I get into exactly what he said, there's been a lot of talk around Phantom Blade Zero and whether or not the game is a Souls-like. It certainly has a few Souls-like elements, but I actually think Phantom Blade Zero, a lot of the audience it's drawing in, people are hoping and almost praying for this game not to be a Souls-like. What's humorous is I've seen that rhetoric with Phantom Blade Zero and Black Myth Wukong. I think those are two games that have captured the interest from a large degree of the gaming populace. However, Souls-like titles have become so popular that whenever an action game is showcased, a large prevailing thought is this a Souls-like game? Because while Souls-like has such a large genre and people that are super into it, like incredibly into that Souls-like genre, I think there is an equal portion of people that at this point do not want more Souls-like games, or just games that are at a high caliber and games that interest them from a thematic standpoint to be a Souls-like title. Black Myth Wukong and Phantom Blade Zero has captured the interest of that large portion of that gaming populace, where there is going to be a bit of a split opinion on people wanting a Souls-like, not wanting a Souls-like, and I think at this point the people not wanting a Souls-like are going to be vehemently against the idea of this game or a Wukong being a total Souls-like. And it's interesting, you'll always get a large amount of Souls-like titles. There's games coming out regularly that are gonna fit that criteria that aren't From Software title. Bleak Faith Forsaken is about to come out on PlayStation 5 on August the 6th. It's another Souls-like. The genre is not going anywhere. I think people would just want these games that, from a thematic standpoint, really do captivate them and grab their interest. Black Myth, Phantom Blade, to maybe step away from the Souls genre. But in the interview with Games Radar, it was noted it's just like the old Souls games, said Soulframe. You move around and explore in a seamless map. It's just not a huge open world map, but every region is connected together seamlessly. There are certain gates requiring keys, and the keys are obtained from some missions. There's still some processes you go through, but it's non-linear. There are always multiple paths you could go through. It's just like the Souls game before Elden Ring. Now that is from a world design standpoint, how the level design is structured. I think a lot of people associate the Souls-like titles with difficulty, the bonfire mechanic, respawning of enemies, so on and so forth. You know, that is an interesting element, but it has been stated by the developers over and over again that Phantom Blade Zero is in fact not a Souls-like game. So depending on which side of the fence you lean on, I don't know how the general gaming audience that's interested in Phantom Blade Zero is going to react to that information, because again, and that idea of that game world design, yeah, Dark Souls and the older Souls titles certainly did have the idea of these interconnected worlds that aren't linear, but it's not the only one. If you really look at that style of game design, what it is, while it's not presented in the same way, exact same way, is it's a Metroidvania. Metroidvanias, you go back and forth. There's multiple ways in how you traverse the environments, but obviously Phantom Blade Zero is a larger scale, big budget action game, so it's not going to be called a Metroidvania because it's just not what a Metroidvania is known for. But the fundamental ideas, the grassroots idea of level design, Phantom Blade Zero, very much you could look at it as an older Metroidvania game that's blown up into the style of game that Phantom Blade Zero is. It was also noted in the Eurogamer post, in the same Games Radar interview, Soulframe described the game as an action RPG with combo-driven, heart-pumping combat that is hectic, rewarding, and exhilarating. The developer also stated in post-Summer Game Fest Q&A, remember this game did get that closing slot at Summer Game Fest Q&A, and unfortunately didn't get a release window announced, which I just thought was lame. It's worth stressing again, making another Souls-like was never part of the plan, reads the statement. We did take inspiration from Souls-like games, such as multi-layered maps, multiple approach paths, and hidden nooks and crevices, but the similarities stop there. There will be difficulty options, and you won't have to face respawn mobs after you die or interact with checkpoints. Honestly, that is absolute music to my ears these days. Meanwhile, there was another interview where it was noted we want our players to enjoy the pure combat, the story, and the world. That's the point. As a new studio, I don't think we have the privilege of From Software to make you frustrated while you're playing. I don't think that is quite the verbiage to use because I don't think From Software just gets away on goodwill to make people frustrated, but I think people know what they're getting into with the From Software title. I guess you could make that comparison. We'd rather keep it accessible to everyone so that everyone can enjoy it. And guys, at this stage of my life, especially with how many games are coming out and having a YouTube channel where I'm covering video games, I gotta play a lot of video games. I got a buddy of mine that's playing Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree right now. I'm literally recording this video and he's streaming it on Discord. This man has been playing Elden Ring for the last 2 months and has sunk 200 hours into the game over the course of the last 2 months. Great for him. Great that it's had that level of replayability. The challenge has captivated him, and Shadow of the Erdtree seems to be something so many people have sunk their teeth into. Again, and I think a lot of you guys can relate to this at this point in my life, that's just something I don't want to do as much. I'm playing Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak right now, and that game is awesome, but I'm at like the 70-hour mark at this point. And that is getting a little bit long in the tooth for me. And Legend of Heroes, it's a fairly simple game in the sense of you can get from point A to point B. It's not going to be too difficult. I'm not going to throw my controller at the screen. None of that is going to happen. With a Souls-like game, it's incredibly time-consuming. And for me, and you can tell me to get good, and yeah, I do got to get good. And I probably could if I sunk a ton of time. But with Souls-like games and FromSoft games, I'll beat them once, and then I'll move on with my life. However, if it's Armored Core, it's a different story. And I think a lot of you guys fit into that criteria where you're like, yo, these Souls games, you can appreciate them for what they are, but you can also enjoy games, and you probably prefer games to an extent that don't adopt every element of a Souls-like game and really try to employ that get good mentality, which I think is great. I think Souls games offer something that a large audience does want, but I don't think the entire audience in every single game has to become that. And with Phantom Blade Zero, difficulty options, narrative-driven, and story-driven, I think those elements will captivate people in wanting to check it out. The issue is with this game, I still don't know when it's going to come out, and it's going to fall into that Black Myth Wukong territory where for a long time with Black Myth Wukong, I thought the game looked great, and I'm just not convinced when it's actually going to come out. I would imagine with Phantom Blade Zero, Black Myth Wukong was a 4-year turnaround time. Phantom Blade Zero 2027, I think makes a lot of sense. I think Sony, for the showcase in 2023, they needed to get a good game in there in terms of one that will interest people because of how garbage that show was. So Phantom Blade Zero was really a standout, and I think more so was a game to be like, hey, we got big games coming out. They're just not coming out for years and years while you guys go play Concord. But that'll do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Excited for Phantom Blade Zero. Just a little bit of an issue as far as how excited can I get for a game that's probably years and years away. Your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.